My name is Frank Zagotis, and I'm the director of the film Passion and Poison, The Vindication of Vincent van Gogh. What a lot of people don't realize is that Van Gogh was killed by the very thing he loved to do, and that's paint. This film is not another biopic on Vincent. What we're going to cover is the paints that he used and how they affected him. Adrienne Sprouse, New York's foremost doctor on environmental medicine, has loved Van Gogh since she was 16 years old, and she went on a class field trip, and she fell in love with Van Gogh's artwork. She loved him like anybody else would love a rock star. She has since done about 20 years of research and getting access to materials, information, and places that no one has had access to before. Dr. Sprouse takes him on as a patient and medically diagnoses his condition.
In 1985 is when I started medical school. Before, I just loved his art and I thought he was a curious character, but as I started learning medicine, there was something about his story that didn't fit. It intrigued me, and I wanted to find out what it was. I couldn't believe that he was crazy and in this fit of insanity cut off his ear and then got hospitalized and then went out and shot himself. It's like something is not right here. It's the wrong time frame for someone who's seriously suicidal. I guess it was my junior year, my third year in medical school. I decided to take the training courses with the American Academy of Environmental Medicine. And I started to learn about the different presentations of chemical poisoning. And all of a sudden something just clicked. And so that's what Van Gogh had. He had chronic chemical poisoning. That's why the letters could be so clear, but his behavior be so bizarre. From then forward, I started reading his letters and looking at him from the point of his being a patient and my being a developing doctor.
We have been able to figure out the constituents in the paints. We know how they affect people today. We can definitely compare them to what Vincent van Gogh was going through at the time whenever he was exposed to the paints.
I started getting sick about 6 years ago, and it was very hard for me to walk. I couldn't really breathe. I finally went to the hospital. They said to me, "Oh, you have a TIA." I didn't know what a TIA is.
A TIA is a transient ischemic attack, and a lot of us feel that it could be the precursor to a stroke. And because I knew it can be caused by solvents, I was interested in seeing her studio.
When Adrienne came and saw the studio, she said to me, "You can't paint here anymore."
The level of solvents that were in the air are pretty strong for me.
She said, "I think you should take some tests."
When the test results came back, the chemicals that we found stored in her body were from the studio. And some months later, when she went back after she had gone through treatment here, the first 5 minutes she got sick in the studio again.
I never thought my paints were making me sick. I had no idea.
We are living at a time where people are getting sick, and they're not realizing that the reason they're getting sick is their environment. There are things around them all the time that they're not putting together could be the cause of their illnesses.
I found out that dust, mold, pollen, foods, and chemicals can affect any area of the body, and that most doctors don't realize it.
You can't always say they were misdiagnosed, because they probably were diagnosed to a point, but not gone any farther.
In other words, if you have depression and suicidal tendencies, they're not going to send you to an environmental medical specialist.
Most of the patients have really been through the mill, usually 20, 30, 50 doctors.
And arthritis, how many doctors would think that that might be in any way related to an allergy?
We have interviews with some of America's foremost doctors on environmental medicine, and they corroborate what Adrienne is saying, that these elements are toxic.
One of the problems that you see with artists who are very dedicated and passionate is that they paint all the time, and they will be exposed to paint 24 hours a day, because they hang the paintings all over their house. They're in the bedroom, they're always drying. There's always moist paint so that they can smell the fumes all the time. these people will become more and more and more sick as time goes on.
He painted a painting a day for the last 70 days and took the paintings back to his little room of 200 or so square feet. And you can see now that the room has been restored, actually holes in the wall where he hung the paintings with no ventilation other than this little 18-inch by 24-inch roof window to the outside world. And he'd lay there and breathe in these fumes all night long.
All these artificial scents, all these chemicals that are around us at very low levels over a period of time will make you sick. Using Van Gogh's story to get this message across is something no one's ever done before. Yes, it's about an artist. Yes, it's about the environment. It's about how something that you love could be the very thing that's making you sick, and you don't even realize it. That's why it's important to get the message out there. That's why this movie has to be made now. It is so pertinent and so relevant today. We have access to things no one has had access to before, places no one has had access to before. We have Adrian Sprouse, New York's foremost doctor on environmental medicine, environmental experts from around the country that prove Adrian's theory. My name is Frank Zagotis, and I'm the director of Passion and Poison, The Vindication of Vincent van Gogh. Thanks for listening.